Hey guys, how's it going and welcome back for another Total War video with the Terminator. Today I'm going to start a 3-part beginner's guide series for the Rome 2 medieval mod 1100 AD that will cover everything from the basics of campaign management to differences in battle gameplay to my very own tips and tricks for making the most of your 1100 AD experience. Now keep in mind that the mod is still in development, so it might be that in the near future sometime what I cover here today is no longer useful to you. I'll try to keep a changelog in the comment section below pinned at the top just so you're aware of when that happens, but for the moment this is, as of right now, the most comprehensive beginner's guide for medieval 1100 AD. So today's video is part 1 of the series, focusing on the basics of this brilliant overhaul mod. We'll be talking about the playable factions and the overall difficulty and balance. Then we'll talk about the new gameplay mechanics, including war wariness and the Civil War system. Then we'll go through some points on recruitment, diplomacy, and public order. And finally, we'll have a look at some frequently asked questions, including mod load order, whether we're going to get more playable factions, and etc. By the end of this video, you should hopefully have a better understanding of how the mod works, maybe how to resolve an issue you're currently experiencing with it, and more importantly, how to succeed in your campaigns and enjoy playing medieval 1100 AD. In the publicly available version of 1100 AD, there are 15 playable factions to choose from. Each faction has had a complete unit roster overhaul, with the units ranging from the 1100s to the late 1200s. Each faction has historically accurate starting locations, diplomatic circumstances, and each faction, of course, comes with various unique bonuses, characters, and difficulties. As a rule of thumb, if you're fairly new to Total War, I'd recommend you start on easy or normal, just to lessen the challenge a bit and give yourself a chance to pick up on all the gameplay mechanics. If you are experienced in Total War but new to the mod, I'd say go with normal or even hard if you're feeling confident enough. And if you have been playing Total War, especially modded Total War similar to 1100 AD for a while now, then you should feel right at home with hard or very hard. Overall, the easiest factions to play are the Holy Roman Empire, the Kingdom of France, Leon and Castile, Pisa, Georgia, Duchy of Apulia and Calabria, and the Fatimid Caliphate. Then we have the harder campaigns with the Crusader state of Antioch, the Roman Empire, the Abbasid Caliphate, and the Danes. And finally, the hardest campaigns in the mod as of now are the Kingdom of Jerusalem, County of Portugal, Duchy of Normandy, and the Principality of Kiev. These are mostly based on my own experiences, but applied fairly to how I think a beginner would find playing these factions in the mod. The Duchy of Normandy, for example, is caught between England and France with little to no friends. Squaring off with two of the most powerful factions in the mod is not an easy thing to do. On the other hand, though, you have the Fatimid Caliphate. It already controls a large number of cities, has a brilliant roster, and many friendly neighbors, so a much easier set of circumstances. Finally, do keep in mind that the mod is balanced around the hard difficulty setting. That means while you can still play on the other difficulty levels, of course, the best experience you can have with your game is on hard. 1100 AD has a few very cool set of gameplay mechanics that you should be aware of before playing. An overhauled Imperium level system, a unique version of the Civil War mechanic, and an at times deadly seasonal effect mechanic. In the next update of the mod, Starsmill will also be adding the sanitation and population mechanics, so lots more to be excited about in this regard. Starting with Imperium level, every faction starts at a certain level depending on how many regions it controls. This is kind of the same as vanilla Rome 2, but in 1100 AD there are some additional negative and positive effects of growing your Imperium level throughout your campaign. Level 1 and 2, for example, are pretty basic, some positive effects to public order and party loyalty, and minor negative effects to political stuff, which you rarely feel while playing anyway. But when you start getting into Imperium level 3 and above, things start going downhill quite quickly. You take a diplomatic hit from expansionism, public order goes from positive effects to negative, upkeep becomes more costly and mercenaries more expensive, and best of all, you start getting war wariness, which is a brand new mechanic to Rome 2, ported over by Starsmill from Attila. What it does is essentially make it more difficult for you to maintain your wars, with the more wars you have, giving more negative public order across your provinces. There are plenty of ways to deal with it though, so don't worry too much, just keep an eye on it every now and then. And then we have civil wars. In Rome too, a civil war happened if your other parties became disloyal and betrayed you by taking a bunch of cities and armies. In 1100 AD, you still have that, but you can also have a civil war if your faction leader dies and you have no viable heir. And by viable heir, I mean a male heir that is of age and has at least 2 stars from battle experience. It's a brilliant new mechanic that incentivizes you to grow your family early on and makes you actually care about your faction leader's children. Just keep in mind though, if you have a single settlement and this happens, a civil war won't occur, but you will get a -20 public order effect for 5 turns. Finally, there are seasonal effects. 1100 AD is built on 4 turns per year, so you'll be going through 1 season per turn essentially, and each season has a set of positive and negative effects. Now, this is really important to be mindful of because the difference between summer and winter can be drastic. If you're not producing enough food, if you have too much upkeep, if your public order is already low, going from a relatively easy turn in summer to a drastically negative autumn and an almost unbearable winter is going to be hella difficult. So I'd recommend, guys, that you keep a very close eye on this one. You may think you're doing well one turn, but if you've missed something, you will find yourself in deep trouble when winter rears its head. Make sure you're doing as much as you can to prepare for winter and counteract as many of these effects as possible. In this section, we're going to take a quick look at some key areas that might be different to other vanilla or modded Total War campaigns. Starting with recruitment, you've got your standard infantry and cavalry buildings that give you access to your various different types of troops. The more technologies you research, the higher tiered buildings you can get, and the better troops you can recruit. 1100 AD also has naval units, guys, with some factions that were historically known to be more navally powerful, such as the Italian kingdoms and the Roman Empire, while the other factions have naval capability as well, but they are weaker. The main point of difference for recruitment here, though, is that lighter units take 1 turn to recruit and heavy units take 2. Again, that depends on seasonal effects, public order, and other things, so make sure everything else is in good condition to make the most out of your recruitment. For example, if your public order is at -50 or below, then you won't be able to recruit at all. So keep this in mind. Diplomacy in 1100 AD, I find, is a little bit more flexible. You can wrangle other factions into joining a war by offering them money, a marriage, trade agreements, etc., and vice versa. You can also force a faction you're at war with to make peace if you've captured enough of their cities. This plays into the conversion time for the main settlement building because you are essentially occupying that city, and as is historically accurate, it would take a long time and money to convert it. The more cities you capture, the more likely your enemy will sue for peace and perhaps even offer to become a vassal. And then there's public order, and I can't stress this enough, guys. If you don't have positive public order, things will get very hard for you very fast. So make sure your provinces have positive food production, that religious differences are kept at a minimum, that you're not fighting multiple wars at once, etc. Use agents, characters, and remember, garrisoning armies causes negative public order. Everything we've discussed so far, one way or another in this video, affects public order. So getting a good grasp of all these mechanics will help you manage it even better. Finally, we're going to go through a quick few points that people always bring up on my videos, as well as the official 1100 AD Discord server, which, by the way, I've dropped a link for in the video description if you'd like to join. The mod load order should be the medieval 1100 AD new campaign mod at the top, then part 1, part 2. If you have graphics mods, they can go pretty much anywhere. And if you have the music mods, then they go underneath the main 1100 AD mods. More playable factions, including the English or Poland, will get added soon. And the next update, which will hopefully be released in the next few months, is apparently focused on adding new sanitation and population mechanics, as well as some more Norman factions like England. So it will all come in due time. The mod does have an area of recruitment system, so if you want to recruit knights from the Crusaders, for example, you'd have to be recruiting in the Syria and Palestine provinces. Most, if not all, provinces have unique local units that can be recruited. Just make sure you have the appropriate buildings. And that's it for today, guys. 1100 AD is an incredible mod that is diverse, challenging, and a lot of fun to play, and hopefully, having watched this guide, you have a bit more knowledge around various key gameplay mechanics, and you have some more tools in your belt to have successful campaigns and enjoy the mod even more. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and if you did, give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comments section below. Subscribe for more Total War content, gameplay, and news, and especially if you'd like to see parts 2 and 3 of this beginner's guide series. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.